We all have goals, we all have dreams, we all carry within us a vision of what our lives could be. Some picture of success, fulfillment, or greatness. For some, it's financial freedom. For others, it's impact. For many, it's a sense of purpose or peace. And yet, despite how widespread the desire is, very few actually reach those destinations. Very few become what they dream about becoming. Why? Because goals don't change people. Habits do. There's a dangerous illusion in the world today, the belief that what we aim for defines who we are. But aiming is easy. You can aim from your couch. You can visualize a better life while doing nothing to build it. Goals are cheap. They cost nothing to set. What costs something, what requires sacrifice, discomfort, and repetition is habit. And habit is what builds identity. Who we become is not the result of what we wish for, but what we do when it's hard. It's the result of what we practice, not what we promise. Most people set goals based on outcomes. I want to lose 30 pounds. I want to start a business. I want to write a book. But those are not identities. Those are results. They live at the finish line. The problem is you can't stand at the start of a marathon and declare yourself a marathon runner. You become that person mile by mile, step by step, commitment by commitment. Think about it. If someone tells you they're a kind person, you don't believe them because they say it. You believe it because you see it consistently. You see the way they treat the waiter, how they handle stress, how they show up for others when it's inconvenient. The identity of kindness is revealed through repeated action. The same goes for everything else. We don't become leaders, creators, change makers because we set goals. We become those people because we live those values out day after day in quiet moments when no one is applauding. The truth is your habits are showing the world who you really are. Even more importantly, they're showing you who you are. Every habit you repeat is like laying another brick in the foundation of your identity. Each day you go to the gym, even for 20 minutes, you're casting a vote for the identity of someone who prioritizes health. Each time you choose to read a book instead of scroll aimlessly, you reinforce the story that you're someone who values growth. Every morning you wake up early to write, even when inspiration isn't there. You prove to yourself that you're a writer, not just someone with a dream to write. But the reverse is also true. Every time we hit snooze, we reinforce the idea that our comfort matters more than our commitment. Every time we say, I'll start tomorrow, we chip away at our trust in ourselves. It's not about guilt, it's about awareness. Because when we live unconsciously, we drift not just in our schedules, but in our character. We slowly become someone we never intended to be. Not because we chose to be that person, but because we failed to choose who we wanted to become. The people we admire most, the ones who are deeply respected, not just successful, rarely became that way because of one big moment. They became that way because of how they showed up in small moments. It's not the TED Talk that makes the speaker great. It's the years of thinking, reflecting, failing, and refining in private. It's not the book that makes the author an author. It's the morning after morning at the desk, writing through doubt. We all love the highlight reel, but identity is formed in the rehearsal room, not under the spotlight. This is why change is hard. Because if we want to become someone different, we can't just act differently once. We have to do it again. And again. And again. We have to let repetition build reinforcement. There is no hack for identity, only the slow compounding power of daily action. But here's the hope in all of this. You don't need to transform your entire life overnight. You just need to start living like the person you want to become in small, manageable ways today. If you want to be more courageous, you don't have to give a speech to 10,000 people. You just have to speak up in a meeting. If you want to be disciplined, you don't need to run a marathon tomorrow. You just need to wake up when you said you would. If you want to be a person who creates, start with 1 hour of undistracted work. Identity is not built in leaps. It's built in layers. The greatest trap is waiting to feel ready. Because here's the truth, identity doesn't precede, action precedes identity. You don't wait until you feel like a leader to start leading. You lead, and over time, you realize you become one. You don't wait until you feel like a disciplined person to act with discipline. You act with discipline, and the identity follows. We become by doing. There's a moment each day, sometimes many moments, when you're faced with a choice to do the thing or not, to stretch or scroll, to prepare or procrastinate. And each time, it's not just a decision about that task, it's a decision about who you are. That's the part we miss. Every small behavior is bigger than it seems, because it's not about what you're doing. It's about who you're becoming. So, if you want to know who you really are, stop asking yourself what your goals are. Start looking at your habits. And if you want to become someone better, stop trying to change everything at once. Start by changing what you do today, because what you do daily is what you become. We live in a world obsessed with big moments. We celebrate breakthroughs, viral wins, overnight success stories. We cheer for the person who just lost 50 pounds. Not the one who quietly showed up at the gym for the 187th time. We post pictures of graduation ceremonies, not the nights of studying self-doubt and discipline that made that moment possible. And slowly, whether we realize it or not, We begin to believe that greatness is a moment, that success is something you can earn in one bold move. But it isn't. Greatness is not intensity. Greatness is consistency. Anyone can work hard for a day. Anyone can be disciplined when they're motivated. But what defines us is who we are when the motivation fades. The question isn't, can you be amazing today? The question is, can you be consistent when it's boring, uncomfortable, or unseen? You see, intensity feels powerful. It gives us that dopamine hit, that rush of progress. It's the crash diet, the 4 a.m. workout, the weekend hustle. And yes, intense effort can create momentum. But intensity doesn't create transformation. That comes from consistency. The slow, steady, disciplined commitment to showing up even when we don't feel like it, especially when we don't feel like it. There's a reason most New Year's resolutions fail by February. It's not because people don't want to change. It's because they believe that a short burst of effort will undo years of neglect. But the truth is, real change requires a new identity. And new identities aren't created in explosions of energy. They're created in the small choices we make every single day. Imagine someone planting a seed. They water it once, a heavy downpour. And then they wait, hoping something magical will happen. It won't. That's intensity. Now imagine someone else who waters the same seed gently, but every single day, without fail. That's consistency, and eventually something will grow. Maybe not immediately, maybe not noticeably at first, but it will grow. Because life growth and transformation respond to patience, not pressure. It's the same with relationships. You don't build deep trust with someone by having one powerful conversation. You build it through repeated, honest, caring interactions showing up again and again. You don't fall in love because of one amazing date. You fall in love because of the texts that say, I'm thinking about you. The calls just to check in. The time someone makes your coffee exactly how you like it. Small, consistent acts of care. That's what builds connection. It's also how you lead. If you're in a position of leadership, your team doesn't follow you because you gave a great speech once or made a big decision once. They follow you because of how you treat them daily. Because of the way you show up when things go wrong. Because of how you handle pressure, not just when eyes are on you, but when no one's watching. Consistency builds trust, and trust is the currency of leadership. Even in creativity, consistency matters more than brilliance. Most people think the best arts are struck by sudden divine inspiration. But talk to any great writer, filmmaker, or designer, and they'll tell you the same thing. Their best work came not from waiting to feel inspired, but from sitting down at the desk every day and doing the work, even when it didn't feel good, even when it felt terrible. And over time, something remarkable emerged, not because of a single flash of genius, but because of disciplined persistence. What's most ironic is that the things we want most in life, confidence, discipline, strength, trust, don't come from occasional grand efforts. They come from showing up daily. Confidence doesn't come from winning once. It comes from knowing you've done the work repeatedly and you can handle what's ahead. Discipline doesn't come from forcing yourself through a brutal workout. It comes from proving to yourself over and over again that you can follow through. Strength is built not just in lifting heavy once, but in lifting often. Trust isn't built by making promises. It's built by keeping them repeatedly. Consistency isn't sexy. It's not exciting. It won't get a million likes, but it works. And it's honest, because it forces us to confront who we really are. Not who we say we are or who we hope to be, but who we're choosing to be day in and day out. It reveals our true values. It builds our true character. And over time, it earns us the only kind of success that matters, the kind rooted in integrity. There's this myth that consistency is about perfection. It's not. You're going to miss days. You're going to slip. You're going to get tired, distracted, discouraged. That's okay. Consistency isn't about never falling. It's about always returning. It's about the decision to begin again and again and again. That's where growth lies. Not in doing it right every time, but in choosing not to quit. The real reward of consistency isn't just the outcome. It's who you become in the process. Someone who is dependable. Someone who finishes what they start. Someone who follows through. It doesn't just change your results, it changes your identity. Because the person who shows up daily, regardless of how they feel, becomes someone others can count on, and more importantly, someone they themselves can count on. So stop chasing intensity. Stop trying to change your life in a weekend. Start by doing one thing today, and then do it again tomorrow. And the day after that, keep your promises to yourself, especially the small ones, because those are the ones that shape your future. Anyone can sprint. But life isn't a sprint. It's a marathon made of ordinary days. And the people who thrive are the ones who choose to show up ordinary day after ordinary day with an extraordinary commitment to stay the course. Consistency isn't the flash of lightning. It's the steady light of a lighthouse guiding you through storms day after day. Quiet, powerful, unshakable. And if you're wondering whether your daily effort really matters, just remember this. It's not what you do occasionally that changes your life. It's what you do consistently. Every day, whether you realize it or not, you're casting a vote. Not in a political sense, but in a personal one. You're voting for the kind of person you are becoming. The decisions you make, the small, often unnoticed choices, are shaping the direction of your life. We often talk about the future like it's something waiting for us down the road, as if it suddenly appears one day and announces itself. But that's not how the future works. The future doesn't arrive fully formed. It's constructed brick by brick by what you choose to do right now. The truth is, we are all in the process of becoming. The question is not if you're becoming someone, but who you're becoming through your patterns, behaviors, and habits. Every decision is a signal, a reinforcement, a thread being added to the fabric of your character. You are shaping yourself, intentionally or not, by what you say yes to, what you tolerate, what you avoid, and what you prioritize. The challenge is that most of these choices feel small, even insignificant, and that's where we get it wrong. Because we tend to overestimate the power of big decisions and underestimate the power of the little ones we make on repeat. Think about it, very few lives are changed by one decision. Most lives are changed by a series of micro decisions made over time. When you choose the healthy meal instead of the fast one, when you open a book instead of the app, when you stay quiet or speak up, when you follow through instead of making excuses. These moments don't feel life-altering, but collectively they are. It's easy to say, it's just one workout I skipped, or it's just one day I didn't write, but it's never just one. It's a vote, a subtle, silent vote that compounds, and the more you cast the same kind of vote, the more you reinforce the identity behind it. So, if you skip the hard things regularly, you become someone who avoids hard things. If you prioritize your growth regularly, you become someone who values progress. There's a deep connection between repetition and reality. Because what you repeat, you become. No one becomes lazy in one decision. No one becomes strong in one gym session. No one becomes disciplined after one day of waking up early. These things are not traits you're born with. They're results of decisions made again and again. The student becomes the master by studying long after others get bored. The leader becomes trustworthy by making hard choices when it's inconvenient. And the fulfilled person lives with intention even when the world rewards distraction. There is a myth that the future is waiting to be discovered. That if you work hard enough or think long enough, you'll stumble into your purpose or passion. But your future isn't found, it's created. Not in a single act, but in accumulated choices. It's built by aligning your actions with your values, even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching. Because the person you're becoming is not who you pretend to be in public. It's who you are in private. The future is not about some date on a calendar, it's about the trajectory you're on. And the path you're walking right now is leading you somewhere. The problem is, most of us want to become someone different without changing what we do daily. We want to feel strong without being disciplined. We want to be wise without spending time reflecting. We want to be successful without embracing the boring, consistent work that success requires. We want the outcome without the process. But you can't cheat identity. You can't trick your way into being the person you admire. You have to earn it, one choice at a time. It's not about being perfect. That's not sustainable. But it is about being aware that each moment, each decision, each day is an opportunity to reinforce who you are or redirect who you're becoming. If today is filled with apathy, distraction, and avoidance, that's not just a bad day. That's a vote for a future you might not want. On the other hand, if today is filled with effort, intention, and integrity, even if you stumble, you're voting for a stronger future. There's something liberating in this idea, because it means your future isn't locked in your past. It's not determined by where you were born or what you didn't do yesterday. It's built by what you decide now. The next decision you make can change your direction. That doesn't mean you'll become a different person overnight, but it means you can start becoming that person today. That's the power of agency. It's knowing you're not stuck unless you choose to be. It's realizing you have more influence over your life than you've been led to believe. But that influence isn't dramatic. It's subtle. And because it's subtle, it's easy to ignore, easy to dismiss. But the compound interest of behavior is just as real as the compound interest of money. The difference is the payoff is in character, not currency. And here's something important. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need all the answers. You just need to make decisions today that your future self will thank you for. Because what you do today is not just about today. It's the foundation of your reputation, your habits, your mindset, your relationships. Everything you care about is affected by the quality of your daily decisions. You're becoming someone right now, not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Through the decision to pay attention or tune out, to take responsibility or shift blame, to move forward or make excuses. These aren't just actions, they are investments in your future identity. You are casting votes, you are setting direction. So the question isn't, will I be successful or will I be fulfilled? The better question is, am I choosing the path that leads me there? Because the path shapes the outcome. And the path is paved one choice at a time. You don't become the best version of yourself all at once. You become that person slowly, repeatedly, quietly, through thousands of small decisions that over time add up to something remarkable. Your future is not something that happens to you. It's something you're building right now with every choice you make. People often talk about motivation as if it's something we can summon at will. As if the strongest, most disciplined people are simply more committed, more determined, more powerful than the rest of us. But that's not the whole story. Because no matter how disciplined you are, no matter how big your goals are, if you live in the wrong environment, your behavior will eventually reflect it. Human beings are deeply influenced by the world around them. We'd like to believe we're logical creatures making rational decisions all day long. But the truth is, most of what we do, how we think, how we act, how we show up, is shaped by the signal systems and stories in our environment. Your surroundings speak to you constantly. They either pull you forward or drag you back. You don't rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your environment. If you're trying to grow, but you're surrounded by people who mock your ambition, eventually you'll stop sharing your ideas. If you want to live with more focus, but your phone is buzzing every 10 minutes with a new distraction, eventually your attention span will wither. If you're trying to build confidence, but you spend your time with people who constantly criticize or belittle you, it will take more than willpower to rise above that. This isn't weakness, it's human nature. Behavior doesn't exist in a vacuum. It happens in context. It's triggered, shaped, and reinforced by what's around us. So if we want to change behavior, we can't just try harder. We have to look around and ask ourselves, what are the conditions I've planted myself in? And are they helping me grow or keeping me small? The most successful people, the ones who lead, create, build, and sustain impact over time, don't rely on sheer force of will every day. What they do differently is they take their environment seriously. They don't just set goals, they build systems. They don't just say they want to focus, they create space for focus. They don't just hope for growth. They plant themselves in places that nurture it. That starts with people. Because few things shape our behavior more than the company we keep. You've probably heard the phrase, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But that's not just a catchy quote. It's a reflection of how social we are as creatures. We take cues from others constantly. How they talk, how they think, what they value. If you surround yourself with people who make excuses, you'll find more excuses. If you surround yourself with people who push themselves, reflect deeply, and act with integrity, that becomes your standard too. It's not about judgment, it's about alignment. The people in your life don't have to be perfect, but they should reflect the values you aspire to live by. If you want to be more courageous, spend time with people who take risks. If you want to be more grounded, spend time with people who listen more than they speak. If you want to be someone who leads with purpose, then stand beside people who talk about purpose more than profit. But it's not just people. Your physical environment matters too. If your desk is cluttered with distractions, your mind will mirror it. If your space is filled with chaos, you'll struggle to find clarity. If your schedule is jammed with obligations you don't believe in, your energy will scatter. Every part of your environment either helps you stay aligned with who you want to become, or pulls you away from it. This is why it's so important to be intentional. Not just about what you do, but about where you do it, and with whom. If you want to write more, create a space where writing is easy. Put your phone in another room. Set a timer. Block off the time. Make distraction inconvenient and action obvious. If you want to eat better, don't just rely on willpower at 9 p.m. Build an environment where good choices are within reach and poor ones aren't. Too many people blame themselves for their lack of progress, when in reality, they're just swimming upstream every day. They're trying to stay focused in environments designed for distraction. They're trying to stay disciplined around people who don't respect boundaries. They're trying to live intentionally in systems that reward speed over depth, volume over value. And then they wonder why it's so hard to change. But it's not always about changing yourself. Sometimes it's about changing what's around you. Even small adjustments can make a massive difference. A sticky note on your mirror reminding you of your values. A calendar block that protects your focused time. A conversation where you set clear boundaries. A decision to walk away from a space or a relationship that no longer aligns with who you're trying to become. Because here's the thing, you can't out-discipline a toxic environment. You can't out-hustle a system that constantly burns you out. You can't build a strong identity in a place that keeps telling you you're not enough. You can try. You might even hold out for a while. But eventually, environment wins. So instead of just pushing yourself harder, ask yourself better questions. Who brings out the best in me? What places make me feel like I'm growing? What habits are easier when I'm with certain people or in certain settings? What parts of my environment inspire me to act with intention? And which ones pull me into autopilot? These questions matter because we're not just the product of our efforts, we're the product of our conditions. And the good news is conditions can be changed. When you walk into a room and feel inspired to focus, that's not accidental. When you spend time with people who challenge you, support you, and tell you the truth, that's not accidental either. Those are choices. Choices to cultivate an environment that matches the identity you're trying to build. You don't need to overhaul your life in one sweep, but you can start today. One drawer cleaned out, one app deleted, one new boundary drawn, one honest conversation had, one commitment to spend time where you're valued, not just needed. One place, one person, one pattern at a time. And as you begin to shift your environment, you'll notice something else begins to shift too: your energy, your behavior, your sense of self. Because we don't grow by chance. We grow by design. Environment is not everything, but it's the foundation for everything. And when you build it with intention, it becomes so much easier to become the person you were always meant to be. Everyone has two versions of themselves. There's the person you are now, shaped by your habits, beliefs, choices, and circumstances. And then there's the person you could become, the one who lives closer to their potential with more clarity, more purpose, more strength. The distance between those two versions isn't defined by talent, luck, or even intelligence. The real bridge between them is discipline. Discipline is often misunderstood. People hear the word and immediately think of punishment, restriction, or cold, rigid control. But discipline isn't about denying yourself pleasure or living like a machine. It's about alignment. It's about keeping your promises to yourself, especially when it's hard. It's about choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort, not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. The reason most people don't become who they could be isn't because they lack dreams. Everyone dreams. Everyone wants something better, deeper, more meaningful. The problem is we expect our future to be built by desire alone. But desire doesn't build futures, discipline does. Dreams may light the spark, but discipline keeps the fire alive. And discipline doesn't shout. It doesn't beg for attention. It lives quietly in the small choices we make every day. The choice to wake up when we said we would, to follow through on the workout even when no one's watching, to keep writing, practicing, learning when it would be easier to scroll or give up. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, but it's powerful. Because every time you follow through, every time you act in alignment with your values, you build trust with yourself. And that's the real win. Most people think the reward for discipline is the result: the job, the body, the book, the business. But the deeper reward is the identity you form along the way. You become someone you can count on, someone who doesn't just wish but works, someone who doesn't just say but shows. And that kind of self-trust is rare, because we live in a culture that celebrates instant gratification. Everything around us is designed for ease, speed, convenience. We're conditioned to crave comfort, to expect results now, to believe that if something doesn't come quickly, it must not be meant for us. But discipline tells a different story. Discipline reminds us that anything worth having is worth working for and waiting for. No one ever stumbled into greatness by accident. No one woke up accidentally in shape or in love or in peace. Those things are earned. And they're earned not in a single decision, but in a pattern of disciplined choices that accumulate over time. That's what makes discipline so powerful. It compounds. Each time you choose the hard thing over the easy thing, you gain something: strength, focus, confidence, progress, not always in ways you can see immediately, but always in ways that matter. Think of discipline like a muscle. If you use it, it grows. If you ignore it, it weakens. And just like a muscle, it doesn't grow from one intense effort. It grows from consistent, repeated effort, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. There will be days when you want to quit, when everything in you screams to take the easy way out. And that's where discipline shows up, not as force, but as commitment, not as punishment, but as love. Because discipline is a form of self-respect. It says, I care enough about myself to do what's right even when it's not easy. That doesn't mean discipline is about never resting. It's not about burning yourself out or proving something to the world. In fact, the most disciplined people know how to rest with intention. They know that recovery is part of progress, that boundaries are part of balance. But they also know the difference between rest and avoidance. They know when they're recharging. And when they're hiding, discipline is honest. It asks the hard questions. Are you doing the work or just pretending? Are you committed or just curious? You're showing up fully or just showing up halfway? These are uncomfortable questions, but they're necessary, because becoming the person you could be means leaving behind the excuses that have kept you where you are. And here's the truth: discipline isn't always loud and dramatic. Sometimes it looks like saying no to one more episode so you can get a full night's sleep. Sometimes it looks like walking away from people or places that drain your energy. Sometimes it looks like sticking with a routine that no one else understands because it works for you. There's no applause for these moments. No one's handing out trophies. But each one is a step across the bridge from who you are to who you could be. What makes discipline beautiful is that it puts the power back in your hands. You don't have to wait to feel inspired. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need the perfect plan or ideal conditions. You just need to choose, and then choose again and again. Discipline doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for persistence. That persistence creates momentum. And momentum is what gets you through the tough seasons, the setbacks, the doubt, the silence. Because there will be times when progress feels invisible, when results seem far away. When the voice in your head says, "Why bother?" And that's when discipline matters most. Not when it's easy, but when it's quiet, when no one's watching, when you keep going anyway. The people who inspire us the most didn't get there by accident. They got there because they kept showing up long after it stopped being exciting. They did the work when it was inconvenient, unglamorous, unrecognized. And eventually they crossed the bridge. Not because they sprinted, but because they never stopped walking. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to be the best. You just need to be willing. Willing to do the small things with excellence. Willing to be patient. Willing to stay the course even when the rewards feel distant. Because in the end, the reward is not just in achieving the goal, it's in who you become on the way there. Discipline is not the enemy of freedom. It's the foundation of it. It's what allows you to create, lead, love, and live on your terms. It's the bridge between the life you have and the life you're capable of living. And every day you have a choice to step onto that bridge or to stay where you are, one small decision at a time.